This conference will now be recorded.
In today's class, we are going to start with our classical reporting events. So when you are writing a program in real time, we should follow these events to write your programming. So whatever we have write the program till yesterday is the traditional way, or it's a very basic way of writing your code. But whenever you have designing a selection screen, and in the selection screen, let's say I want to do the validations. So whatever the input that user has been provided, or let's say I want to pass directly a default values. Whenever the program is getting executed, I want to provide a default values in my selection screen. Automatically the values has to be populated. So in those cases, we can't able to directly write that. So in order to do such type of a things, we need to use some events. So these are the events. So the events are the placeholders that has been provided by SAP, like in the same way which we have seen in your TMG events. So table maintenance generator event. So a placeholder where SAP has been provided to write our logic. In the same way, when you are creating the reports also, we do have the events, or those are the placeholders to do that particular action. Like if I want to pass the default values, there is an event. If I want to do the validations, there is an event. Or if I want to create an header, so in the reporting I want to create a header, I want to add my footer. So we do have an events like that. We do have separate event to perform those actions. So in these classical reports, these are all the events that are available, and you have to write in this same way only. You should not change the way while writing your program. While writing your program, you should not change your way. So the classical reporting events are: the first one is your load of program, the second one is your initialization, the third one is your selection screen validations and selection screen interactions, and the fourth one is your start of selection, the fifth one is your end of selection, the sixth one is your top of page, and the seventh one is your end of page. Till that start of selection, whatever the events we do have, so along with these five events, and 1 6 7 8, so these start till the start of selection, these events will be across the same in all types of reports. Across same in all types of reports, whether you are using interactive reporting, or whether you are using ALV reporting, or whether you are using the container reports, or whether you are using the simplified ALV report, or whether you are using the um, SALV, and what is the CDS ALV, something is there. So I forgot the name. So right now it's not remembering. So till that event, till that reporting, we are going to use these events for sure. So till the start of selection, and this end of selection and top of page, end of page, we are going to change it. Okay, so you have to remember these events, and every program from here onwards, when you are writing that, so you have to mention that event. Without mentioning that events, we will not be allowing to you, we will not allow you to move the TR from one system to another system. Remember that. Okay, the first and the foremost event is your load of program. So this load of program is an internal event which will load the memory to your program. So whatever the variables you are declaring, whatever the internal tables you are declaring, for that it will assign the memory to your program. When you are executing the program, the memory will be gets assigned. That will be happen internally. You will not able to see this. I mean, you don't even need to write this event name in your code. So it's an internal memory. See the load of program. So the first and the foremost memory, the first and the foremost event that will be gets triggered, and then the program will be gets executed, and then the output will be shown, the required output. So whatever we are seeing right now is just the load of program. That's it. Now coming to the next event is called as your initialization, which is mainly used to pass the default values in your selection screen. So if I want to pass the default values in my selection screen, then we are going to use then we are going to use the initialization event. If I go to SC38, let me open our program, whatever the program we are going to see. So GR7AM, so this is the program which we are looking for. So now when I click on execute, so you will be seeing a selection screen. So I want to pass, let's say directly when I click on execute, the 1000 value has to be shown directly. The 1000 value has to be shown directly, or let's say the 2003 to 9000 has to be shown directly. So you don't need, so that user should not pass the values. We are allowing them to pass the values. So we are directly passing the values from the program. After this, if they want, they can change it also. It's just like a, it's just like, for example, when you save your password of your Google in your Google Chrome, when you open that application, automatically the user ID and password will be auto populated. But if you want, you can change that. In the same way over here also, when we execute this application, automatic, one second guys. Yeah, sorry. So when we execute this application, automatically these values has to be populated. So in order to do that, we will be writing the code in the initialization event. How to write that code? So now where we have to write that code in the initialization, after your types declarations and data declarations, and then before your selection screen here, sorry, after your selection screen here, we have to write your initialization event. So this is the place. So whatever the events we are going to see, we are going to write down after your selection screen design. So after your parameters and after your selection screen, we will be writing your in the events. The first and the foremost event is initialization. You have to write the word initialization. You have to write the word initialization. Now, so for every statement we need to close it. If we do have an end if, like for do we do have an end do. Now event, in order to close any event, to close any event, we need to call the next event. We need to call your next event. Let's say for example I have written, so let's say I have commented this one. Let me activate the code and let me click on execute. Now if I'm not passing the value, I'm getting the output over here. Now what I'm going to do, I'll just go ahead and provide the initialization event. I'll just go ahead and provide the initialization event. Now, when this initialization event will get triggered. So before we go ahead with that, this event will get triggered. This event will get triggered before the selection screen. Before the selection screen. So that means before the selection screen come up, this event is going to be triggered. So let me keep a breakpoint over here and let me click on execute. So let me activate this and let me click on execute. Previously when we click on execute, it will show you directly your selection screen, but when I click on execute right now, it will open my breakpoint. See here, it has opened your breakpoint. It has not shown you a selection screen. So that's what I mentioned over here. If I go ahead and if you go ahead and see over here, see the first event is your load of program. After this, the initialization will be get triggered and then your selection screen will shown up. So whatever the selection screen, and then from here you will be executing the program and you will be showing your output. So now this initialization is triggered before the selection screen. Now the selection screen, so now if I say F5, see here, it has started executing our logic, but this logic should not get executed. How to stop executing this logic? Even your display part is also showing you up. As you are using a demo, it is showing you the display, but It will not display you when you use your write statements. When you use your write statement, it will not display you. But as of now, you are using a demo, it is just displaying you. After you are displaying, it is just showing you your selection screen. After you're displaying, it is just showing you. That means the entire logic is going to be executed in the initialization event itself, but it should not do that. So to avoid that, what we need to do, we need to call your next event. So in order to stop that, what I'm going to use, I'm going to call the next event called as your start of selection. So then I will be coming to your initialization. Let me first cover the start of selection. So start of selection. This is an mandatory event. First of all, remember that. This is a mandatory event. So which you have to provide in every program. Maybe if they are not asking, if they are not, if they didn't tell you to pass the default events, then you won't be using this initialization. See, when we will be using the initialization, if the requirement has if the user has tell that, or if the function has tell that these default values has to be provided automatically, then we will be using the initialization event. When they have not told you this, when they are not told you, so they just want the selection screen, they don't want any default values to be provided, then we don't need to pass this initialization event. But this startup selection, coming to the startup selection, this is a mandatory event in every program. You have to use it. This will tell us to the this will tell us uh, to the to the program, it is the time for us to get the data from the database. So when we use the startup selection event, if you're not at all using also, let me show you that at the debugging level, it will show you the startup selection. So as of now, I have not used any events. When I just say click on execute over here, see here, you can see the startup selection event startup selection. See, so system will think that when it sees the first selected query, system will think that it is a startup selection event. So this startup selection is a mandatory. So that means this event will tell to the system saying that, so this is the time to get the data from your database. This is the time to get the data from your database. So when you are not writing any events, whenever SAP sees the first selected query, it will think that it's a startup selection itself. But when you go ahead and write your initialization event, let me go ahead and write my initialization event, and let me also now click on execute. Now see here, the program, the selected query will be executing in the initialization event. So in the initialization, we system is thinking that for fetching of some default values, we are writing a code. So that's the difference between the initialization. So to close that, we have to always open your next event. So when you are writing your main logic, always you need to write your start of selection. So this event from today onwards, when you are practicing the code, when you are writing your main logic, you have to write this event start of selection. Without this, we will be never accepting your code. We will never ever accept. Now when I click on execute, when I click on activate, when I click on execute, automatically the initialization will come up. And now when I click on execute, see here, now my breakpoint has been triggered. So, and it is showing the event your startup selection. It is showing the event your startup selection. This is how you have to write down your event. Okay, now let me come back to your startup selection. Let me come back to your initialization. So these are used to pass the default values as I mentioned you. So these are used to pass the default values in the selection screen. So what are the different ways for designing of your selection screen? One is your parameters and one is your select options. So one is your parameters and one is your select options, as I mentioned you already. Now select options is an internal table with header line. I have already told you about this concept. So what is internal table with header line? Can someone tell me? What is internal table with header line? When we are designing the selection, when I was telling you about the select options, I told you about this. Okay, let me code you that once again. So the internal table with header line is nothing but the same declaration, the same name, declared name will be used for both work area and internal table, as I mentioned you. So now when I say activate this one, when I click on execute, when I pass the value and when I click on execute, it's not stopped. Okay. When I execute this one, see here S underscore VKO RG is an internal table with an header line. Let me go to my desktop 3. S underscore VKO RG, which is an header. If I pass this, it's an internal table. So, or else let me double click directly on my S underscore VKO RG. See here, it's a the same name will be used for your internal table as well as for the work area. So that's called as an internal table with header line. So this select option will be an internal table with header line. Now what we need to do for if you have a parameter, so let's say I'm going to declare my parameter over here, parameter p underscore, I'm just going with the same thing, VKO RG, type VKO RG. I'm just going with this. Now let me activate this program. So now, in order to pass the default values for your parameter, so when I say activate this and when I click on execute, so there is a select option and there is a parameter. Now I want to pass the default values to my parameter. So now to pass the default values to a parameter, so I want the default value as 2300 in p underscore VKO RG. For p underscore VKO RG, I want to pass that. So if it is a parameter, you just say under initialization. Under this initialization, you have to write this logic. VKO RG is equal to just provide 2300. That's it. Now when I say activate this program and when I click on execute, see here automatically 2300 has been came up. Automatically 2300 has been came up. Now if I directly come from my SE38 slash OSE38, now if I open and click on execute, see here automatically 2300 has been populated, the auto populated value. So this is how you have to pass for your select, this is how you have to pass for your parameter. Now coming back to your select option, how can you pass the default values in your select option? As you already know, now I want to pass the default values for select options. So this select options is a internal table with a header line. So what are the fields that will be available in the select options? So how many fields we will be having? So we will be having 4 fields. What are those? One is your sign, one is your option, one is your low, and one is your high. As I already told you, if I want, let me go back to your selection screen design. So here when I told you about your select option, so if I want to pass multiple values, then I will be using, whenever we create a select option, SAP will create an internal table with 4 fields. So sign, option, low, and high. So now for this sign, it's a 1 digit character where we have to pass I or E. So exclude or include, and option, these are the values that will be used. Comparison operators, whatever the comparison operators we want, we will be just providing. And low is your required, low and high are the required values. So in this case, what we need to do, we need to fill this internal table. We need to fill this internal table. Internal table. So how I'm going to fill that? So as I told you, this is an internal table with header line. So I'm just going to say s underscore vko rg, and then if you give control space bar, see here you will be getting all your 4 options. I'm just going to say sign equal to I, include, and s underscore. My requirement is I want to create a range. So my requirement is I want to create a range for uh, a range for s underscore vko rg from 2300 to 9000. 2300 to 9000. I just want to create that. So how can you do that? So I'm just going to say include vko rg hyphen option. Option is equal to, so I want from this to this, that means between these 2300 to 9000. So I need to use between, bt, and then s underscore vko rg hyphen low. What is the low value? 2300. And what is the high value? I just need to keep a full stop. I got that. And s underscore vko high is equal to 9000, and then we need to append it. So append s underscore vko rg directly, or you can also use append value hash, and then sign equal to I, and then option is equal to between, and then low equal to 2300. I'm just writing down with the new syntaxes also. High equal to 9000 to s underscore vko rg. So that's it. So either you can use this, or else you can also use this one. Now if I click on check this, no issues at all. See here. So this is the old way and this is your new way. So I have just told you in the both the ways. Now this is what you have to do it. Now when I say activate this one, now the code will be gets activated. Now when I click on execute, see here my initialization event will be get triggered. I'm just passing the values F5, and I'm also passing the values to s underscore vko rg. If I go to desktop 3, so now when I say F8, see here automatically the values has been populated automatically. One second. Okay, so this is how you have to provide your the selection, the select. I mean, this is how you need to pass your default values to your selection screen, to your select option, as well as your parameters. Now, if I want to exclude some values, so let's say if I want to exclude that, so you can, or else you can also write like this also. So how you can write this s underscore vko rg is equal to, you can just write value hash, and you just need to provide this. I'm just going to provide this 4 values. So now let's say I want to exclude one more value. So how I need to do this? I'll just say E excluding in between 3,300 to, let's say, 5,000 I want to exclude. So now one more thing is completed. Now I'll just comment this value. Now let me do my pretty printer and let's get activate this code. Now when I click on execute, and when I say click on execute, you will be having two records. See here, one is I have included the range from 2000 to 9000, and then I have excluded the range from 3000 to 5000. In between that, this values has to be gets excluded. So you can do that however you want with your old syntaxes as well as for with your new syntaxes. This is how you have to write your code. So clear with this? So this is all about your the initialization. So always try to write down with your new syntaxes only, guys. I just already mentioned you. So to write down with your new syntaxes. So I'll write from here onwards, I'll be writing the code completely in the new syntaxes only. But when you guys are practicing it, so just write down with the old syntax and new syntax. Here I have to show you the old syntax. So I just show you the old syntax. From next time onwards, I will always show that in your new syntaxes only. Okay. Now the next event is your end of selection. So this end of selection is an optional event. So this end of selection is an optional event. When you are working on ABAP HR, currently we are not using the ABAP HR. So it has been completely migrated to cloud based, which is nothing but your SAP SuccessFactors. So SuccessFactors is a different company. So that SAP has owned 100% stake, and now it's a part of our SAP journey. So previously we will be using for HR module, we have an ABAP HR where there are some other logic, so where we will be using info types and info cubes. So for that, the end of selection is a mandatory event. But when we are writing the normal ABAP, when we are doing the normal ABAP, for our case, the end of selection is an optional event. So what this end of selection will tell us? So this will tell us stating that so the fetching of the data has been completed. That means we have received the data in the internal tables. We have received the data in our internal tables. It's time for us to process those internal tables. So from here onward, that means, as you already know, inside our system, you will be having your presentation layer, you will be having your application layer, you will be having your database layer. The start of selection will says that it will connect it has to connect to your database and it has to get the data. Once we write this end of selection, so this connection will be gets removed. This connection will be gets removed. So that means that the database connection will be gets removed and it will just process the data. As we got the data into your internal tables, that means the entire things will be going to work within your application layer. The entire details will be going to work under your application layer. Okay, so this is what. Now this end of selection will tell us, so after you're completing of your select queries, you need to write your end of selection. That's it. So this will tell us that that the data fetching is completed and it's time for me to process the data. It's time for me to process your data. So this is what your end of selection is. So I already mentioned that the same thing over here. Now if you see here, so the start the load of program, initialization, selection screen, the start of selection, end of selection, and display. So EOS is nothing but your end of selection. SOS is nothing but your start of selection. Selection screen. Under this, you will be having your validations and interactions, and then initialization, and then your load of your program. Okay. So this is what. So here, as I'm using your display part, here I'm using your display part. I can't able to show my start of selection and so top of page and end of page. Right now, I'm just go ahead and write with our loop and end loop. Loop at what is my internal table gt underscore final into data of gs underscore final. I'm just going to mention only few fields, not all the fields. Okay, let me go here and I'll say write gs underscore final hyphen VBELN and gs underscore final hyphen POSNR and then gs underscore final hyphen VKORG gs underscore final hyphen VTWEG and then gs underscore final hyphen MAT and let's say these are the fields. I'm just going to populate this. Now I'm just going to activate this one. Now, when we are displaying this data, I want to print my top of page and end of page. So the top of page is mainly used for your header. So this is what the header. So if I want to have my header and I want to have my footer. So let's say I want to have my footer on my page. In the same way, in your reporting also, you can have your top of page and your end of page. So now I'm just going to have my top of page. So top of page. This is used to provide the, the same header in all the pages. In all the pages. In all the pages, whatever you are going to print in the output, in order to showcase that, we will be using your top of page. Now, when I say activate this one, when I click on execute, and when I click on execute you will be getting your data. I'll just remove my breakpoints. One more breakpoint will be get triggered. Now see here. Now see here this example program for all entries. So where this is coming from? So this is coming from your attributes of your program. Attributes of your program. So whatever you mentioned in your attributes. So if I go to your attribute, see here example program. I don't want this to be showcased in my output. So what we need to do is, so you have to say at after your report statement, you have to say no standard page heading. No standard page heading. So now I'm just going to activate this one. I'll just click on execute and just click on execute. See here, now that example program for all entries has been removed. No standard page heading will do that to remove the attribute from your heading. Now I'm just going to print my heading. So what I'm going to do, top of page, I'll just say write psi uline and I'm going to say write executed by and I'm going to say psi uname. So executed by and executed name. So I'll just say full stop and write uh, executed date. Executed date. So I'll just going to say I'm going to concatenate this. So psi datum of psi datum plus 4 of 2. I'm going to have my month psi datum 4 of 2 and then I'm going to have my backslash. So I want to print that date in this format. So now I just want psi datum plus 6 of 2. So this is my date. I want to print the date, and then I'll just going to say my backslash, and then I will be having one more field called as your sci datum plus 0 of 4. So that's it. So now when I say pretty printer, and now what I will do, I'll just say write one more sci uline. Sci uline. Now I'll just say activate my code. So the code got activated when I click on execute, and when I click on execute, see here, I want the date to be shown in mm/dd/yyyyyy. So that's for that I have written the code in this format. If I have said just side datum instead of this, it will be showing you that in this output. See here, this output I have mentioned in my profile. If I go to my own data, now if you see here in the defaults, it will be dd.mm.yyyy, dd.mm.yyyy. So, but I don't want that to be formatted. I want that to be gets formatted as mm/dd/yyyy. To do that, I have just go ahead and written this code. So I have given you these things in so many assignments. So this is the concept of your offset. 4. After 4, I want the first 2 digits. As I told you, the date will be stored internally in the internal format of your date will be YYYY MMDD. So now I want how my format, I want my output as MM/DD/YYYY. So now after 4, I want 2 characters to be gets readed. So that's what my first logic is. 4 of 2. So just read the 2 characters after 4 slash. So next after 6 of 2 you want to read it. So after 6 of 2 characters, and then from 0 to 4. So after 0 read your 4 characters. So that is what I have done it. So this is called as your offset concept. So how many characters you want to read in a particular string. So this is my string. In this string I want to read the 2 characters after 4, or after 6 I want to read 2 characters. From first I want to read 4 characters. So in order to do that, you will be using this offset concept. So this is what your top of page is. Now when I say activate this one, and when I click on execute, and I click on execute, see here, executed by and executed date. So right now it is showing you only one page. See here, right now it is showing you only one page. Now, in order to showcase that in multiple pages, first of all, you need to determine for how many lines to be gets printed on one particular page. So here also in Word document, you can specify how many lines you want to be gets printed in one specific page. How many lines? In the same way, in your reporting also, you can specify how many lines. So that lines will be included for both your along with your header also. So right now, how many lines we have been consumed? So 1, 2, 3, 4. The sci u line is also considered as one line. Remember that. So how many lines per page? Let's say, for example, I want 100. I want, let's say, 20 lines per page. So I'll be saying this as line count, or line count 20. So that means per page you will be having 20 lines. Now when I activate this one, when I click on execute, and when I click on execute, see here, so 16 records, 1 to 16, and 4 records has been used by your header. 4 records has been used by your header. So this is what. Now the page 2. See here, the same constant heading will be used in all your pages. So that is called as your top of page. That's called as your top of page. The same header has to be repeated in all my pages. How can you determine the page? So with the help of your line count, how many lines you want to specify for your page. So if let's say I want to print my page number also. So you will be just saying this as, so write, so page number is equal to, you will be having psi page number. That's it. Now when I activate this one, and when I click on execute, see here page number 1, page number 2, page number 3, page number 4, page number 5, page number 5 and 6, page number 6. So this is what. So now next event is nothing but your end of page. So this is used to provide the constant footer end of page. So this event is used to provide constant footer for all my pages. So to do this footer, to achieve this footer, we need to assign the footer lines. We need to assign the footer lines. So that means how many lines you are going to dedicatedly assign for your footer. So that you have to be provided. How to provide that? So how many lines per page you have provided? So we have provided it over here, line count as how many lines. In this, you have to provide some particular area for your footer. So how many lines that you have to provide that in your braces. So I want, let's say, 4 lines. So that means the 4 lines will be dedicated for your footer. So out of 20, so the 4 lines will be assigned. That means the total memory is 16 lines. So in that 16 lines, you have used 4 lines for your header. So 4 lines for your header and 4 lines for your footer you have been consuming. That means the 12 records is going to be showcased. So now let me showcase you that. I'm just going to say write psi u line, and then write, I'm going to say, what is this? All rights are reserved. So to all rights are reserved. So you should not do that. And then I'm just going to say write psi u line, and then before that I'll just go ahead and say write executed time. Let me go ahead and do that. Executed time, and I'm just going to say psi used it. So now I'll just go ahead and do my pretty printer, and I'll just activate the code, and I'll just click on execute, and I'll just say click on execute. See here, 1 2 3 4 5 5 lines as we have used for your page number also, and the 4 lines 1 2 3 4. So now in between this, 5 plus 4 9 lines have been used and 11 records has been shown. Now the same way it will be showing for all your pages. So as here the records has not completed, it will not show you your footer. So that's the foot. In order to provide the footer in all your pages, we will be using this end of page. So this is all about your top of page, end of page, start of selection, end of selection, load of program, as well as your initialization event. So clear with this? And in tomorrow's class, we are going to start it with your selection screen, validations, as well as your interactions, which is going to be happened on Monday. So I'm going to cancel the weekend session, as I already told you, I'm not feeling well. So this selection screen, validations and interactions, I'll be taking you on Monday session. That's it. So that's the end of today's session. Before I signing off for today's session, any questions?
The concept of offset can be used on any strings, right? Like it's not
Any
only
string,
for date.
not only for date. That's what
Okay.
I mentioned. For any string, if you want to get some value in that particular string, we will be using an offset concept.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So
Just one final one.
yes,
For the date format, you say it's 999 YYYY hyphen, right? Is there a function like a to date conversion directly to the required
yeah,
format we want?
I mean, for date conversion, internal to external is there. So we will be
Hmm.
having that in SE37. Uh, convert date. No. So convert date format. So this is the
Okay.
format. So like this you will be having. So convert date from external to internal format. So convert date to external, convert date to internal. Like that we have some formats, but these formats will only support how your system is. So in your user profile, how your own data is, in that data format only it will be supporting. So
Okay.
with this format, but if they want the other format to be gets displayed, then you have to use your offset concept only. Okay, I
Okay.
didn't tell you about your function modules yet, so we are going to see after your interactive reporting. As in the modularization, we will be starting with your function module. Maybe in the next week you will be going into your function modules, so at that time you will be knowing about your function modules. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Right. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So just a simple thing. So reusable piece of code we will be keeping in one place. So that's called as a function module. Let's say, for example, I want to use the same code in program A, program B, program C, and program D. So so now what we need to do, we will go ahead and keep that code in the function module, and we'll be calling the function module in program A, program B, program C, and program D. So that's it. So simple. I'm just telling you in a simple words. Okay. Yeah, clear? Any other questions, guys?
No, we're good. Thank you.
Yeah. So sorry for canceling for tomorrow's session, as I already told you. So we'll meet you again on Monday. Happy weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.